Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Anita, and I extend very warm welcome on behalf of Manhattan Meditation Center and Peace Village Learning and Retreat Center. So before we start today's topic, just very quick housekeeping things. That recordings of this Thursday talk and anyone what we have offered previously are available on Manhattan Center's YouTube channel. You can access them by prescribing for our YouTube channel, or you can just do a simple search on YouTube and access the recordings. On our YouTube channel, all the talks are under one playlist. It's called Wisdom in Action. We also offer live meditation every day at 12 noon from Monday to Friday. If you are joining that live, that's wonderful. Otherwise, you can also access recordings of those to meditate on your own time and inconvenience, as per your convenience, just by accessing the recordings on our YouTube channel. We also started a new community service. I shouldn't say new anymore because it's there already for a few months now. New podcast service by Manhattan Meditation Center. And if you would like to hear discussions on different topics or short meditations, you can access them on Spotify or Apple Podcasts platform. I think that's all. As far as announcements go, I hope I have not missed anything. So today's topic, the power of now and procrastination. And we all do procrastinate, sometime more, sometime less, but we always all do. And so I really want to give all the time to Sister Judy because I want to hear. She's one of my favorite speakers, which comes, all of them are really good, but I like her a little bit more than the other. So I want to hear what she's going to share on power of now, because I think that's one of the most important things. Although I understand it theoretically and I train my mind to be in the present moment, but I do know that I fall off the rails, often, and then I have to get back on track. So I'm hoping for some tricks. And so without further ado, welcome, Sister Judy.
Thank you, Anita. Happy New Year, everyone. This is the time for those resolutions, huh? This is a time when we make those promises that we are going to be different from now on. I'm just curious, of those on this evening, how many of you consider procrastination to be something that you'd really, really like to finish, that it's sort of a big deal? Because for some of you, it may not be so big. Just use your little reaction thing down at the bottom. Just give me a signal here so I know whether we have to treat this with great seriousness or not. How many of you really think procrastination is an issue for you? Okay, we've got a few of you. So it's a sin. Okay. All right. It looks to me like you aren't that lost in terms of procrastination. There's a few of you. Okay. We've got a couple here. Okay. All right. So, well, let's think about it together. What I'm going to do here, I might end a little early tonight. I'm not feeling 100%, so we may not go the full hour. But I want to start with the mundane business of procrastination. And then if we have time, I want to talk about the more sacred business of time itself, because time is a very deep subject. So we'll start with the regular stuff, and let's just start with the obvious. So your life works better when you don't procrastinate, right? I mean, everything, it works the way it's supposed to. Nobody is upset with you. You don't feel any tension. You're where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. Everybody's happy. So That's what we should be doing all the time, right? But it's not always the case. What causes us to put things off? So as Anita said, all of us do it some of the time, and then some of the people do it all of the time. But what causes us to put things off? So I'm going to suggest a few things, and I'm happy to hear from you in the chat. But so one thing that causes us to put things off is just confusion. We're just not very well organized, right? The day gets away from us, and suddenly we think, oh no, I said I'd do this, and I didn't do it. So sometimes we're just kind of disorganized. Sometimes we have really competing priorities. Yep, laziness, right? Bad prioritization, Manoj. That's what I was going to say. We've got different priorities, right? I've got this thing that I kind of want to do. Then there's this thing I should do. And so the thing I want to do pulls me, and pretty soon the thing I should do doesn't happen, right? So there's that. Now, I met a guy, I live in Peace Village, as I think you know. I live in the Catskills, the Brahma Kumaris Retreat Center here, and we had a guest from South Africa, had a whole family here from South Africa. And the young man said he wanted to talk. Okay, Carol says, yeah, can't deal with it, so I'll put it off. Fair enough. So I'm going to tell you the story about this young man. So he wanted to talk, and so we were sitting talking, and he's trying to explain what's bothering him. And finally, he says that he's letting everybody down. He's supposed to be working in South Africa from New York, but it wasn't happening. But everybody at work said, don't worry, it's okay, we understand. He said, people are always understanding, but I'm always letting everybody down. I said, well, how bad is it? He said, it's bad. He said, everybody in my life is waiting for something from me, and it's making me very pressured. I'm really, really feeling a lot of pressure. And I said, well, how did you get in this situation? He said, I really feel like I should say yes to people. He said, I feel like that when they ask me if I can do it, I should say yes. And he said, so I say yes. And then I say yes to too many people. And then I've got this impossible situation. So I said to him, well, where did you get the idea that you're supposed to say yes to everybody? Where did that come from? And he paused and he said, well, don't you think that? Isn't that what everyone thinks? And I said, nope. I said, think about Nelson Mandela. You know Nelson Mandela. Think about Desmond Tutu, both in South Africa. Do you think they said yes to everybody who lined up at the door? And he said, well, no. I said, no, they couldn't possibly have said yes. Think about most people you know who are successful. Did they say yes to everybody who asked? And he said, no. I said, so let's think about this. Maybe you don't know how to decline. Is that it? He said, well, maybe. I said, okay, let's practice. So someone comes and asks you to do something, and you could do it. But if you say yes, you won't have time for something that's very important to you. Maybe your meditation practice, maybe your job, maybe your physical well-being. So you say to them something like this, gosh, I'm so glad you thought of me. I'm really flattered that you thought of me. I can do it, but I can't do it now. I could do it in 3 weeks. Would that work for you? And they'll probably say, no. And then you say, oh, okay. Or you say, gosh, I'm so glad you thought of me. I can't do it, but let me help you find someone who can. So we talked for a while about this, and back to Manoj's point, if I have a priority of taking care of myself, if I have a priority of getting to the important things, maybe it's my children, maybe it's my health, maybe it's my job. If I make that a priority, then I know that I can say no when I have to. Okay, so Anita, are you saying you feel bad when you say no? Okay,
Yes.
you've got the
Yes.
same issue as this young man. So you have to ask yourself, why do I feel bad if I say no? Because people ask not knowing what your situation is, right? They don't know your schedule. They don't know your priorities. They don't know if they're asking at a time that's good for you or not. So you know those things. So it's your job to protect your time. It's your job to protect the space that you have for your family or your job or your health or whatever. They don't know when they ask. So no need to feel bad if you decline. Now, if you never help anyone, then maybe we have a different talk on why I'm not very helpful to the world. But if it's just that you're saying yes too often, and then you feel overwhelmed by that, then notice that there's something in you that's trying to make people happy. There's no reason for you to please everybody, right? You need to be good, you need to be clear, you need to get done the things you promised to, but you don't need to please everyone by saying yes. So that's another aspect. There's another thing about procrastination. It's a concept that Stephen Covey explained, and I like it a lot. And he referred to it as the thermostat. And he said that all of us have certain patterns of behavior, and that inside of us, we set a kind of thermostat. And that no matter what else we try, we will always default to where we've set the thermostat. So, for example, some people are dieting all the time. They're constantly trying to lose weight. But when the diet's over, their weight goes right back up to where it was, maybe ideal weight plus 10 pounds, right? Or some people are always late. They're never on time. And no matter what, even if they plan to be on time, if their average time late is about 10 minutes, then they'll be 10 minutes late. One way or the other, they will be 10 minutes late, or 15 or 20, whatever there is. So in their head, the thermostat is set at time plus 15. So in their mind, I'm on time if I'm 15 minutes late, because that's where the thermostat is set. Do you understand how this works? So on procrastination, you may have a thermostat set in your mind that says, well, okay, I know I said I'd do this, but actually, if I don't get around to it, it's actually okay. Okay, Judy's saying, I feel guilty if I say no, if it's because I planned on something for myself the same time they needed me. I think you should stop that, Judy. I think you should stop feeling bad about that. I mean, I would say this, if you make a commitment to someone and then you schedule something else, okay, that's a problem. But if you had something there that you were going to do and someone asked you, you should decline with a lot of confidence and a lot of love. They can't do it. So laziness, confusion, the pleasing people by saying yes to too many things, and the thermostat. There's probably other things, right? But those are kind of the big ones. Those are things that get us in trouble. So what happens when we procrastinate? What's the impact on our lives? Well, people stop trusting us. And we know that they're no longer trusting us, right? When they make a plan with us, they kind of have to have a backup plan because we may not come through. Our lives get a little chaotic. We always have these lists of things that we're meaning to get to, but we don't get to them, so we keep rebuilding the list every day. But most important is we don't feel good about ourselves, right? mean, we feel kind of bad. We feel like we're letting other people down. We feel like we're letting ourselves down. And so we're trying to like move into the day, but we're actually feeling kind of low. So, and stressed, like this young man from South Africa was saying, we're always operating at kind of a level of stress. So the impact is really, really lousy. We don't want to live like that, right? So how are we going to change that? There's all kinds of reasons, but how are we going to change it? So let's think about the simple ones, right? So if the problem is that you are unclear, these aren't simple. Let me take that back. These are not simple. They're not easy, but I want you to think about them sequentially. So if the problem is that you're pulled by different priorities, then what you're missing is clarity, right? The malady is a lack of clarity. Now, you've come on this call this evening because you're on a spiritual path. If you weren't a meditator, I doubt if you'd be here. But you may not be a daily meditator. Is that right? For some of you? Or some of you meditate some of the time, but not all the time. Yeah? Show of hands. How many have a daily practice? Never miss. Just see, use the reaction button at the bottom. Let me see how you're doing. So you never miss. Oh, come on. Some of you, surely. Okay. All right. Manoj, Annie. Hi, Annie. Joanne. Yep. Okay. So for the rest of you, let's talk about your practice. So there's a big difference between meditating occasionally and meditating every day. Big difference. Some people, when they start meditating, they meditate when they feel good, right? The day's going well. I think things are going pretty well. I think I'll meditate. Other people do it the opposite. They meditate when things are going bad. So, things are in trouble. I'm going to sit and meditate. Neither of those works. Why? Because clarity comes when the mind is, I don't want to use it too strong a word, obedient. When the mind is cooperative with you, the true self. What makes the mind cooperative is that you are consistent with it. So if every day you sit down, let's say morning, because that's for most people, that's their strong time. Let's say every morning you get up about a half hour before everyone else and you sit in meditation. Maybe you make yourself a little cup of tea or coffee. You get something inspiring to read and you tell your mind, okay, let's be still and let's be clear. Let's be at peace. And you bring your mind to peace. Now, when you do that, what does your mind do? Does not go to peace, right? It makes a list, it offers your calendar, it thinks of a friend, it listens to a noise. I think I heard something, right? The mind's just kind of on fire. So what do? You bring your mind back into compliance. Okay, let's be at peace. And it may be quite a struggle, but by the end of the 10 or 15 minutes, your mind should become quiet. Then you can take out a piece of paper and say, okay, what are my priorities today? Now you're clear. You know that the most important thing for you to get done is make the appointment at the doctor's office. And you know the second most important thing is go to the bank. And the third most important thing is talk to your child's teacher. And you're going to make sure all those get done. You made your mind clear in the morning. So then when the moment comes, you're not going to be distressed, right? So your number one remedy is your meditation practice. And not just your meditation practice, making your practice consistent. Making it every single day. Do whatever you have to do, which may mean going to bed earlier, perhaps at night, so you're able to get up and be there in the morning. So that's one thing. Second thing, look inside, and this is also a meditation practice. Look inside at your own habits, at your own tendencies. Why am I saying yes when I really don't want to do something? Why am I saying yes to someone when I've already got something else that I'm committed to? What is it in me that needs to please this person? And let me fill myself up with my own confidence or self-esteem or contentment so that I can say to people, look, I'm not going to be able to do that. Sorry. I'm glad you asked, but I won't be able to do it. At least not at that time. Maybe at a different time. That takes a certain amount of clarity and confidence for you to be able to do that. Your meditation practice will both give you that clarity, as we just talked about, but it will also give you the inner awareness of what is going on with me. Why am I trying to please people? What is it? What's the emptiness in me that I feel that if I please someone, I'll be more contented, right? Now that's another topic. We're not going to go way down that road tonight. But so your meditation practice brings you the clarity. Your meditation practice brings you this inner awareness of your own patterns of behavior, your own habits. This business of the thermostat. Ask yourself, am I really serious about losing that weight? Because if I am, I have to move that thermostat to the actual weight I want to be. Or if I'm really serious about being on time, I've got to notice that I've got my thermostat set such that I never have to be on time. Or whatever domain in which you've done that, realize that you haven't actually set the thermostat for accuracy. You haven't actually set the thermostat for excellence. You've set it for, it's okay. I might not actually get it done. So what to do about that? Is that too big of a problem? Or can you say to yourself, okay, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of always being late. I'm tired of not coming through. I'm going to really reset this thermostat with a lot of determination so that when it's time to leave the house, I actually leave the house so I'm on time. I don't answer a couple of emails. I don't stop and get something to eat. Whatever I do that keeps me late, I'm not going to do that anymore. Right? So it's an aspect of determination, again, with clarity, right? Because if you're not clear, you can't do any of this. So you've got clarity about what you want. You have the determination. Now, when you're making a new habit, you have to do it over and over and over, right? You can't just do it once. It's not like you can make a really strong commitment on Sunday, January 1st, the first day of your new resolve, and then by Wednesday, you're kind of over it. No, you have to be really clear. I'm really going to make this change. So that's how you're going to change. And that's how you're going to make your life really better. Now, I want to segue into a more spiritual notion of time, if that's all right. Right? Let me just look here and see what is in the chat to make sure that I'm not missing something here. Okay. Try to connect each morning, but I would like to be consistent. Yeah, that's probably the most important thing you can do, to be honest. If you're going to do one thing this year, do that. Make your practice consistent. Now, Laurie is saying, Laurie, I think what you're saying is this is about memories that come, right? You said, and I think another large one is things that have happened in life, disappointment, pain, doubt. So you're talking about feelings that come up inside, I think. And that is what pulls people. But again, your meditation practice can address that, right? Your ability to clear your mind and move something out of the way. You don't need to be besieged by disappointing memories. That's one of the reasons people meditate. We've all had stuff happen that we regret in one way or the other. But when we talk about meditation, we're talking about a kind of mastery. And the mastery is being able to choose what you think. Not letting just any old thought that wants to come in enter your mind and your heart. Because when that's the case, then you are confused. And then you're fluctuating all the time, right? 1 minute you're great, next minute you're not great because you remembered this thing. Then you're up again, or you do something to make you up again, you shop or call someone, and then you're down again. This is a life that a lot of people are leading, but you don't need to lead that life. You can choose to lead a life with spiritual mastery, and that's, you start with your meditation practice. And your aim is, I'm going to choose to keep things in my mind that bring me joy, that bring me contentment, that bring me clarity. That's what you're doing with your practice. You're creating an inner atmosphere of clarity and truth, contentment and joy, and you're not allowing other things to land in your head or your heart, right? So I think, hold on, consecutive trauma, sure. I mean, no matter how many difficult things have happened, we can learn to create a mindset that focuses on things that give us strength and that doesn't allow things that weaken us to happen. But you have to be willing to commit. You have to be willing to go to bed earlier at night, get up in the morning, and have a real plan. Have a place where you're going to sit. Have a plan the night before. I'm going to sit for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and this is where I'm going to sit. Okay, we can talk about that more if we have time, but I want to return to this subject of time because I want to talk with you at a little greater depth about time. Now, time itself is not a random unfolding of minutes. It's not a random series of moments that just pop up, and whatever you do in them is what you do in them. Time has, it's like it has it's measured. The way time unfolds is the direct result of the things that happened in the past. So you all understand karma, right? You understand that whatever we do creates an impact. So if you understand the notion of karma, then you would understand the notion that time has three aspects: the past, the present, and the future. Now, the only moment we have is the one we're in, right? You don't have any other moment but that one. This one right here. This one you chose to dial into this show and be here and talk about procrastination and now and time. This minute. Your ability to be in this minute came from something that happened in the past. My ability to be here came from my agreeing in the past to be here. You must have cleared the time in your mind to be here. So something you did in the past produced our moment together, with us here together in this conversation. Whatever you do in the next moment, this moment right here, creates an impact in the future. It writes the script for the future. So time is not random. Your life that you're living now is the result of the things that happened in the past, the choices you made, the things you did, the places you went, the things you said, the things you thought, the actions you took, produced the life you're living now. And the life you're living now will produce your future script. So time is not random. It matters what you do right now. And when you have spiritual awareness, when you are awakened spiritually, and you have that sense of awareness, then you have a sense of what you should do in a particular moment. You're not just guessing. You don't just have these competing priorities. You have a sense of what you should do. Now, I'm going to remind you of something that those of you who were raised in a Christian faith will remember this, and others may too, because it's very common. I'm going to read you a passage from the book of Ecclesiastes, from the Christian Bible, chapter 3, verses 1 through 8, and you might remember this. You also might remember that it was a song by a band called The Byrds, called Turn, Turn, Turn. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to throw away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to throw away. A time to tear, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time for war, and a time for peace. Now, I don't want to go into all of the detail of that, but the larger idea is that every moment has its own potential. It has its own atmosphere. It has its own vibration. And so you, the true self, are moving through your life's journey, and each moment comes to meet you. And you have a choice when you do that of how you're going to meet that moment, what you're going to bring to that moment. Now, many people aren't very awake to the fact they have a choice in that. They kind of react to what's happening, like the weather, right? Oh, it's a difficult moment, it's a bad moment, I'm struggling, etc., etc. When that's how you meet the incoming moment of time, then you're kind of tossed around by circumstances. If you have cultivated this meditation practice I'm talking about, if every day you're sitting in meditation with that kind of clarity and that kind of commitment, and you're elevating your thoughts in the morning, say, could do it at night, but let's say you're doing it in the morning. What you're doing is you are increasing your capacity to meet the incoming moment in the most powerful way possible. Now, when the incoming moment is a good moment, an easy moment, no problem, right? We all do okay with that. But what happens when the incoming moment's a challenging moment? What happens when the phone rings and we get a difficult piece of news, or we get a text and someone needs our attention right away on something, etc.? If we have elevated our thinking in the morning, then we meet that moment with the most elevated consciousness possible. We aren't overwhelmed by the moment. We're not knocked off by the moment. We don't feel, oh my God, or feel sorry for ourselves or unable to respond. But we bring this most elevated thought to the moment. And in doing that, we increase our capacity to be helpful. How does that happen? What's the machinery of that? So in your meditation, you choose to work with a very high quality of thought. Every thought, every feeling has a vibration, because you, the true self, are conscient light energy. You are a vibrational being. So the things that you do inside, the thoughts, the feelings, etc., have a vibrational field around them. So if you're always in that, oh my gosh, I don't think I can keep up. Oh my gosh, there's this bad memory that comes. Oh my gosh, I have this shortage of money. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to manage. Then the vibrational field with which you're meeting the incoming moment is at a very low level. And your capacity to change your future, to write a better future, is also at a very low level. The reason that you are choosing to meditate is that you want to be able to elevate the thought you're having in that moment. Not, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed, or I can't stand that bad memory that keeps coming back. No, I'm not going to allow those negative thoughts in. I'm going to produce a more powerful thought. I'm going to produce a more powerful feeling. I'm going to produce that because that's my nature. I don't have to go outside to get a positive thought or feeling, or a powerful thought or feeling. I know those naturally. They are my nature. So if I have the resolve, all right, let me sit in meditation, let me elevate my awareness, and let me produce the most positive thought possible. So what's a positive thought? Benevolence. Let me be generous. Love. This is my brother. I have only good wishes for this one. Cooperation. Let me work with this one to make it work for them. Belonging. This one belongs to me. He's my friend, he's my neighbor, he's my colleague. Enthusiasm. Excitement. All of these things come from our being in the awareness of our true self. And there's nothing that would prevent you from producing the highest quality thought in any given moment in time. Nothing. If you take your mind there in meditation, then when you need your mind to be generous, loving, cooperative, kind, compassionate, it will be there because that's where you've been taking your own mind. And then when any moment comes towards you, then you rise to the occasion and you write a different script. You have the clarity, you understand your priorities, you make a choice to do the more generous thing, the more kind thing, the more elevated thing, because you've been cultivating that inner state. And what happens when you do that more kind, generous, elevated thing? According to the law of karma, what happens? Comes back to you, right? Has to. That's the way karma works. So if instead of being overwhelmed or needy or anxious or whatever, you practice bringing yourself to this state, then you get the elevated return of that. And you get the blessings and good wishes and gratitude of all those souls around you who were really needing you to show up for them, or show up for yourself or your family. So this is our relationship with time. This ability to keep ourselves in such a state that the now that we're in is a beneficial now because of the quality of our awareness. That's why we meditate. That's why we study meditation. That's why we practice. So that when something happens that we weren't expecting, we have mastery over those inner states. We have the ability to bring ourselves to that place. So I wanted to end a little bit early, but I want to check in with you. I don't want to leave you hanging. Is there anything I've said that you would like to talk about, push back on a little bit, etc.? Anything you want to share?
Hi,
Hi, Paulette.
how are you? I'm
good,
Shanti.
Shanti.
It all makes sense. It sounds so simple, and it really is. And it's so powerful. You know, it's just that the hard part is making sure those thoughts, you know, the good thoughts stay in you, and the other thoughts that pull you away, that sometimes they could be strong, how to stop them. But it's so true that when someone needs you, and if your mind is clear and you have that inner strength, it comes so naturally. The answers are right there. And you know, it's interesting because you know, sometimes people say, but you already know, and they're still trying to figure it out. You know, like you already have that answer, and they're still trying to get on that road to get to that answer. And you already have it. It's a beautiful thing. It's really beautiful. Thank you.
I think it's the thing I would say is I think if it's the most important thing we can do for ourselves now, right? The harder the times we're in, the more important it is that we manage our inner state, right? Because otherwise, the outside rushes in and the memories rush up. But if we have that mastery that comes from meditation, we claim that space. That space in your mind only belongs to you. It doesn't belong to the 6 o'clock news. It doesn't belong to Twitter. It doesn't belong to, that raft of memories from the past. It's yours. You claim it. And as you do that, it gets easier and easier and easier, right? That's the thing, right? And then when in your clarity, you can be so helpful to people. And everybody wants to be helpful. We all want to be of service, right?
Yeah, and the feeling that gives you, that karma, like you said, that inner peace, it just comes to you. And it's such a strong, good feeling that you feel so wonderful inside.
It's your nature. That's who you were originally. This other stuff is crowded in like a bad weather. That's your true nature, right? Yeah.
I wanted to discuss one point you mentioned. The point you mentioned was that in each moment, the way it has unfolded is based on your past karma or what you did in your past events. But I wanted to see if the extrapolation from there is intended or incorrect, that what you choose to do in the current moment should be guided by what you want to create in the future unfolding moment. So that becomes a decision and a choice point as to how you want to let your future unfold. Is that the right way to think? It's planning. It's one word for it is planning.
Well, I want to make a distinction between thinking and this word bhav. Do you know this word bhav, intention? There's a little bit of a difference between thinking, which is like planning,
Yes.
and bhav, which is intention.
Okay.
So planning, we can make a plan, but there's always that joke, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plan, right? We can make our plan, but there's a bigger destiny thing going on. But if what you have is a pure intention to do good, to be generous, to be kind, to be patient, to be joyful, to be compassionate, you hold that pure intention. It's not that you act because you want a certain outcome, but you act in the consciousness of your highest self. So the karmic return of that is elevated.
Got it.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, that one last point, and then I want to talk with Sharon. There's our karmas, and then we are also part of a group, right? So of course, my action, the reaction that comes back to me, but I'm in a ton of relationships, families, work, etc. So sometimes I get affected by the karmic return of those with whom I'm in relationship. This is too big of a topic for the few minutes we have left. We'll get back to that another time. But if my intention, if my bhav is elevated, then the return on that will also be elevated. One way to think of it is that everything you say or do carries in it the trace of the thoughts and feelings you have at the time. That's what brings the karmic return. The quality of the thought and feeling you had inside when you took that action or said that thing, right? So that's the bhav. Okay, sorry, Sharon?
So yes, thank you, Judy, so much. I think that what you were saying about now, like, makes so much sense. It's absolute. It has to be. And the other thing I want to say is that sometimes I have to admit that I'll start meditating every morning, and then I'll let life or different things get in the way and get me off track. But what I do every morning is read a little something from a book called Discovering Spirituality, written by Anthony
Toronto.
Serrano. Yes.
Yeah.
And it helps me. It helps me to be aware. It helps set my day.
Perfect.
The other thing I want to say is that about intentions and you were talking about being part of a big group, relationships with your family, with this one and that one. And I have a sister that she can't seem to come out of the past. And so I make sure that I'm there for her, loving, not condemning, not persecuting or anything like that. Just being there for her and trying to give her some of the little things that I've attained as far as awareness is concerned, a spiritual awakening. As a matter of fact, I loaned her my book for a little while, and I'm gonna go to the website and try to buy the book for her because they don't have it anymore at the Manhattan Meditation Center. But I just think that the way you explain things is so clear, it makes so much sense. And what I do right now absolutely sets up something in the future. And the reason why I'm here, because of things I did, I called the meditation center last week to find out when I could come, when was going to be a lecture and stuff like that. And I'm so glad that I did that because I'm really glad that I heard you. So I just want to say thank you, and it's real good. I'll be back again.
And your lucky sister. She's a lucky soul, right? To have you caring about her.
Yeah.
That's very nice. You know, I just would close with one thought, which is there's one thing that we can do for other people, and it will always, always bring benefit. And that is to have good wishes. Bhavana. It's very close to the word bhav. To have sincere good wishes for them, no matter what they do, no matter how confused or rude or unkind, doesn't matter. If you can manage to have good wishes that have nothing to do with the other one, right? You pull your, if you need a powerful source, go up above, pull that energy down and use that for your good wishes. If you can't find it in here, pull it from here. But whenever you travel that way, good wishes for people on the subway, good wishes for the person who just pulled out in front of you in traffic, good wishes for your cranky neighbor, whatever. Because the return of the good wishes absolutely changes the vibrations and the atmosphere around you and around them. Now, if you're a meditator, you probably do a better job of the good wishes, but either way, just hold that one thought. If that's the only commitment you make, that'll get you pretty far. So, all right, everyone. I'd like to bring it a little bit to a close, if you're all right with that. Do you want to share a little drishti, or do you want a little short meditation? What would you prefer?
Sister Judy, you said you're not feeling well, so maybe drishti.
All right, so we'll just share a little. You know what drishti is, right? Drishti is when I am in my consciousness of my true self, and I'm connected above, and I look at you in your consciousness and you as the true self, and we exchange a vision of love. So if you can turn your cameras on, that's great. If you're not in a position to, no problem. We'll do a few minutes of drishti. Om Shanti. Happy New Year.
Om Shanti.
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 Om Shanti. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you so
Shanti.
much.
Happy New
Om
Year.
Shanti. Om Shanti. Happy